Kids, I'm gonna tell you an incredible story. The story of how I met your mother.
When it comes to sitcom pilots, the How I Met Your Mother pilot might just be the gold standard. Sure, there are iconic sitcoms we all love. Seinfeld, Friends, Community, you name it. But their pilots are incredibly rough around the edges and not a full representation of their future success. And that's not a knock at all. It's pretty normal with ensemble casts. Chemistry takes time, characters take shape over seasons, but somehow, How I Met Your Mother manages to mostly skip that awkward phase. Right from the jump, it knows what it is. So what's the setup? We're in the year 2030, which is just 4 years away from when I'm writing this, which is mildly terrifying, and an older Ted Mosby is telling his kids the story of how he met their mother. Except, instead of getting straight to the point, he rewinds the story 8 years before it actually happens. Why does he do this? I mean, it's kind of for comedic effect, but it's also because that's when his mindset shifts. Before this, Ted wasn't thinking about love or marriage, he was just vibing in New York. But something changes, and that spark of finding the one ignites. And we, the audience, are along for every single ridiculous, heartfelt, awkward, and occasionally over-sexualized moment. What I find really funny about this show is that Ted probably edits down these stories for his kids, but I sometimes like to imagine that he tells them in uncomfortable detail. Speaking of over-sexualized moments, we also meet Barney, who is played brilliantly by Neil Patrick Harris. His character is a womanizing, suit-obsessed wildcard. He could have easily fallen flat or just be another Joey Tribbiani. No hate towards Joey at all, he's probably my favorite character from Friends. But in here, Barney's charm is undeniable. He even lands his most popular catchphrase right out of the gate.
And suit up!
It's honestly rare for a sitcom to roll out a catchphrase in the first episode and actually make it iconic. Another minor thing that he mentions that becomes a series staple is him posting on his blog.
This is totally going in my blog.
Blogs are pretty dated, but back in 2005, they were kind of mainstream. His blog consists of what you might find from a middle-aged bachelor living in New York. He also shows off his love for laser tag, which, according to reports, when they were working on the show, Jim Parsons, who plays Sheldon in The Big Bang, was supposed to play Barney. It took Neil Patrick Harris to do an entire act of playing laser tag where he hit the creator's desk and knocked everything over. Luckily, we got Neil Patrick Harris and not Jim Parsons, but I think Jim Parsons is not too upset to be passed over for Barney.
Bazinga!
Barney's laser tag obsession is another character trait that, while quirky and only really believable in a sitcom setting, really works with his character. We also get the iconic line,
Hi, have you met Ted?
This leads Ted to our other main character, Robin, and here's where things get very interesting. Ted falls hard, like declares to his friends he found his future wife hard. His reasoning is cute, but weird to think about as it's only just a small portion of her personality.
How have I always described my perfect woman?
Let's see. She likes dogs?
I've got 5 dogs.
She drinks scotch?
I love a scotch that's old enough to order its own scotch.
Can quote obscure lines from Ghostbusters?
Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes!
This all culminates in Ted stealing the blue French horn, which is another series staple. He then tells her that he's in love with her, which of course weirds her the fuck out.
You love me?
Ted isn't actually in love with her here. Ted clearly is in love with the idea of being in a relationship rather than Robin herself. And Robin isn't entirely creeped out and isn't totally against Ted, which is awesome, which sets up later episodes. And then I love the ending where they find out that it's not the mother, but in fact, it's their Aunt Robin. This comes into play one of the big reasons why I love this show over Friends. I do love Friends a lot, but one of the most tiring subplots is the will they, won't they with Ross and Rachel. While we do get those same elements with Ted and Robin throughout the show, right away with us knowing that this is their Aunt Robin, we don't focus on that part of their relationship. We focus on Ted and Robin both navigating their lives with and without each other and how they grow as people. Now, the B-plot is simple but effective. Ted's best friend Marshall is about to propose to his longtime girlfriend Lily. Marshall is an absolute gem of a human and my personal favorite character. He's a lovable dork with a heart of gold. And Lily, who eventually becomes a bit of a divisive figure in the fandom, is equally sweet here. The proposal is heartfelt, funny, and ends with them celebrating on the kitchen floor, because of course it does. Their celebration turns on its head when Marshall accidentally shoots a champagne cap right into Lily's eye. She wears an eye patch for the rest of the episode, which leads to some corny but pretty funny jokes.
Lily?
How long have you been sitting there?
We also get the introduction of two side characters that stick around throughout the entire series. The cab driver, limo driver, and sort of Barney's personal driver, Ranjit. He's usually around for some pretty big moments throughout the show, but he's usually only there just for comedic relief.
But this is like the classic love song says, I saw a
We also get Carl the bartender, who is sort of like a Gunther from Friends, except not at all like Gunther from Friends. Carl is more relatable and way more confident than Gunther. I think the comparisons are mostly just because they work behind the counter in both gangs' favorite hangout spots. Really, I would say Ranjit is more of the Gunther figure in this whole entire universe, but even then, I still think Ranjit is far more confident than Gunther ever was. The only side character from this pilot that doesn't really make an impact except for a small cameo in a later season 1 episode is Robin's friend, whose only line in both episodes are,
What's taking so long? What's taking so long?
Once Robin is fully integrated into the gang, it seems that this random person is no longer present. Many pilots seem to have a main character or two that don't really get to shine, and it's harder for us to connect to them. And then sometimes pilots can try too hard to make us connect with everyone, and it becomes a disjointed mess. Many other pilots have characters that act totally different from how they act later on. By the end of this episode, we know who these people are. We're rooting for them. We're curious. We're hooked. It's something that not many other pilots can do. Sure, these characters do evolve from the pilot, but I feel like them starting here is more believable than other sitcoms. Oh, and the one thing I can't forget to mention is that this pilot is also edited similarly to later episodes, utilizing flashbacks and flash forwards. This show wasn't filmed in front of a live studio audience, so they can do this type of storytelling and editing very, very well. Instead, the show was filmed and then screened to a live audience, and their laughs were either recorded and put into the episode, or they were just canned laughter and the creators just put them when the audience gave a laugh. I do think while the laugh track is a very dated concept, this show uses it way more sparingly than shows like Friends or The Big Bang Theory.
Nothing makes beer taste better than cool, clear Rocky Mountain spring water.
This is definitely helped by, once again, being screened rather than shot in front of an audience. Overall, I think when it comes to sitcom pilots, I don't think you can get better than How I Met Your Mother. When I do rewatches of shows I've already seen, especially sitcoms, the first few episodes tend to drag quite a bit because it hasn't quite found its footing. With How I Met Your Mother, I feel so much excitement going into a rewatch because it comes out of the gate hot. This show takes much more bolder leaps than other sitcoms when it comes to character development, but I think the archetype of these characters are very well established from the start, and we skip the awkward and questionable first season problems that many other sitcoms endure.
That's kind of sexy. Don't. Ross.
I hope you all enjoy my retrospective look at the pilot of How I Met Your Mother. I plan on making a full series breakdown of the entire show season by season in the distant future, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, it's me, Michael, and I'll see you all in the next video.